Hey everyone! So, I just read chapter 25 of Dead Rock, and what the fuck just happened? Yakuto is dead. Um, okay. Uh, Mashima, you doing good there, bro? Like, oh, what the fuck? Okay, so I'll start by saying this. After having read this chapter and looking at a specific scene between like Makoto and her superior and Ghost, I'm holding out I'm holding a complete reservation that Yakuto is gone for good, but I'll give Mashima this. It's an inspired choice in order to kill off your main character. Although at the same time, we'll be honest, this chapter did have me questioning if Yakuto was actually the main character now, because the more I'm thinking about a lot of this about a lot of this series up to this point, I think in some ways, even though Frey was portrayed as a background character, that there was a lot about her that did kind of speak a little bit of being a main character, a main character, or at very least a pretty much secondary main character in a way. So it's like, in a way, this series almost had two main characters, which was Frey and Yakuto. So it's like, in a way, we're trading like. It's weird to say, but when I think about Frey's journey throughout this, it is very much that up to this point, it is very much a lot of the hero's journey kind of thing, and in a way, Frey has this is sort of like pretty much God killing Yakuto right now felt like sort of in a weird way a very pseudo sort of passing of the torch, you could say. Like this felt like Mashima saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, with Ikuto, he was never the main character from the beginning. It was all Frey." Like I don't know for sure this is actually the case, but it sure it's starting to feel like it now. It's starting to feel that that's kind of how Mashima was trying to tell us with this chapter, that yeah, we kind of had it all backwards from the beginning, that hey, Ikuto, he wasn't the main character all along. It was Frey all along. And I think it's kind of hard not to say that, because Yakuto was always kind of the one in the spotlight, coming up, like being the planner, being the one who was always like having the big plans and whatnot. But it was in a way, like when it came to Yakuto's death too, I think in a way it kind of makes Yakuto's death in a way kind of makes sense too, because the thing about Yakuto is that I've said this countless times. He was always kind of he was always a character who felt always in over his head. He was always underestimating his opponents. He was always getting people into messes left and right without ever thinking of the consequences, or at bare minimum, never really understanding that that pretty much what that pretty much the pretty much kind of the kind of forces he were dealing with could very well get him and his friends killed. So in a way, if pretty much Yakuto is dead permanently, then this is just pretty much that kind of karma getting ahead of him. That yeah, he never really fully understood just what the kind of forces he was up against. Now, again, going back to that whole thing though of whether or not I think this is permanent, I think if there is a way if there is a way for Shikudo to come back, I think this was at bare minimum a necessary step before that happens, because Yakuto's death, I think, is necessary. If Yakuto does come back somehow, I don't know how, but if he does come back, I think this was a necessary step to take in order for Yakuto to realize, yeah, he got way over into himself. He underestimated so much about this whole idea of killing God. Like, it's again, I don't know how again I think a large part of what kind of how this kind of doesn't really. I think a large part of why I'm kind of second guessing as to whether Yakuto is dead or not is because we don't really know what the actual afterlife of this world looks like. So it's like until we get an idea of what that looks like, I think I'm very much pressed to believe whether or not he's dead or alive. Like until we get an actual look of what that looks like. Um, but and yeah, so it's like if Yakuto comes back, then I'm hoping he comes back with the knowledge of like, yeah, he needs to be better. He needs to understand what he's up. He needs to understand now what he's up against versus just rushing in headstrong without thinking of what to do. And but yeah, aside from that though, obviously the other big part of this chapter, I will be honest, it will be interesting to see exactly how Frey does now that she's kind of been thrust into that main character role now officially, and like what exactly Frey is going to do, like how exactly is Frey going to approach like getting revenge for getting revenge versus how how Yakuto had handled it all the way up to this point. Again, with Yakuto, he was very much rushing into things, so it's like with Frey, even though she's headstrong and she rushes into things a little bit too, I feel like Frey has a better head on her shoulders and may be able to kind of understand the current threat that God poses now. So it's like she'll kind of, I think approach this with a cooler head versus Yakuto will. And but with that said, I guess the other thing to talk about is very much the fight between Frey and Yakuto versus Saru. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like I kind of love even I kind of again, it's one of those fights I kind of love just for seeing how just for the possibility of what Saru would have been like as a teacher for. It's one of those fights I really like just for seeing like the potential of what Saru could have been like as an ally, because man was basically on fucking man was on his, no pun intended, demon timing with like how even after Yakuto fully transformed into a dragon, he was still beaten at he's like Saru himself, he was still beating ass. Like he was beating Kudo's ass into the ground, and it's like, yeah, Saru could have been, I think, one hell of an ally, frankly, if none of this happened to him. Although, and I do appreciate the whole thing, and I do appreciate like having Yakuto's perspective during this fight of saying, yeah, if none of this happened, I would have actually liked having you as a teacher more. Like, it's kind of giving you a good perspective that even though that for as much as he would have liked to get to know Saru more, but and it's kind of like speaking to us as the viewers that yeah, he's speaking in a way of a lot of what we would have wanted. Like I wanted to get to know Saru a lot more, but for basically the brief time he was on the screen, yeah, I love this guy. Um, but yeah, guys, that's yeah, guys, it's I'm not gonna lie, this is definitely a twist that kind of says things are up in the air of where Mashima takes us. I'm not sure where he's taking it, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where things go from here. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe for Blue Sky, Analyst Crunchyroll, be sure to push the subscribe button and just share the video, guys. Dark Knight of Any signing off. Later, everyone.